My name is Latifah Merican Cheong. I've got a fancy name that is truly Asian. It's Indian, Arabic, Pakistani, and now I'm married to a Chinese. So I'm really truly Asian. I am actually now in my second or third retirement job. I took optional retirement. I'm actually a central banker at heart, 30 years with the Central Bank of Malaysia. And then I moved on to the World Bank, where I worked in the financial sector vice presidency for 4 years. And I was asked if I could join the Securities Commission to help them with my expertise is macroeconomic stability issues, what you see about crisis management. And I was asked if I could come back and help them with their work. So I'm now in my 5th year as an advisor to the Securities Commission. And the AWLU is really a volunteer work for me. Like what I tell everyone else, it is really by accident. I was together with Huning at a gender event where I was involved in the drafting of the Malaysian new economic model, and I was there to talk about what the model meant to women, and especially what it meant to women and the Penang government. And Huning, and I think there was also Judy Hopkins from the UN, and they were talking about this university that they're very interested in, and they've done a lot of research, and they thought that Malaysia would be a good location for this university. But how do you get in touch with the government? How do you make sure that there is some interest? And so somebody pointed them to me, an old friend, and that's how I got involved. I looked at the concept note and I thought, yes, with a leadership component inside, then it'll be interesting to the government, because we already have women, I think, account more than probably by now 70% of the student population, and even in IT, women graduates are close to 60%. So, just to say a women's college may not be as attractive, but if there's leadership, it can fly. So because of my close association with the government, I was assistant governor to the central bank for many years, so people knew who I suppose if I go with something, they will not dismiss it, I hoped. And so I tested it with Datuk Sri Idris Jala, who is actually the minister in charge of implementing the new economic model recommendations. So he says yes, he thinks it will fly. Send him a soft copy. And that's how I got involved into the project, and having connected the group to the government, I thought that's it, they can move on. But I think it's not so easy if there's no local person, and therefore I thought, okay, I'll continue to help as much as I can. So that's how I'm with the team. Okay, because I've dealt with development, I think, most of my life. Although I'm a financial sector expert, in the central bank, I dealt with a lot of development issues, from trade, industrial policies, skills development, which is education, and making education a services sector export. Came actually from the original thinking, came from the central bank. So I used to do a lot of work in education, and I'm also hire a lot of people. I'm a hiring manager when I was at the central bank and at the World Bank, and I found that the kind of skills that we need as we evolve as the economy evolved, we seem to be lacking some of the skills. And the liberal arts education, which is something we don't have in Asia or in Malaysia, is something that could resolve this gap. So I'm quite attracted to it. But most of all, it is working with a group of highly professional women, highly qualified, and not getting paid. That was actually a very attractive part for me. Yes, I've done a lot of development work on education, but not this type of project. So this is new for me. In the past, I would do, like with a team in the central bank, undertake a lot of research, come up with proposals to the government as to how they should liberalize the education sector. Because I was also the chief negotiator for Malaysia and a few countries to liberalize services under the World Trade Organization. And education was an important component. So we used to do a lot of research, and I think we made a lot of progress, introduced twinning as a possible way of bringing foreign educators to Malaysia, changed the College Act to allow, universities in Malaysia to issue degrees of foreign universities, etc. And so that kind of work. But this is different, where I'm it from the concept note, and I hope, all the way to make sure that it gets established. And having to negotiate with the state governments for land and all that is different. And getting people to come and work with me on a voluntary basis was also quite different. So you get people who are really committed to the job, who are really passionate about the outcomes, and that is quite different, although it is in the same field. Although the objectives may be the same, the method is quite different. For me, because because I've been with government or with the central bank for so long and being involved in so much of the development work, I tend to think of its potential, of what it brings to the country, not just to women. And because at this juncture, we think that the country is ready for transition towards, where universities can encourage great thinking, something we used to have in the past, but somewhat we change it a bit, for political sensitivities and all that. And now the country has matured enough, and that's why I think a university like AWLU will actually fit. The time is right, and to bring in liberal arts, to have students think freely and debate on what is best and how they want to help change. And the fact that women, I think, maybe whether the statistics bear it or not, that women actually do drive change. You look at the household, if the children, goes to school and gets to the best schools, most of the time it is the effort of the mother. My husband would be very happy for his kids to just get, a standard education. He never thought of being, children going abroad and all that. So it's a women who always aim very high for their children. So I feel that, the women's education, school with focusing on not the women's education, but focusing on the liberal arts, the style of education, away from the comprehensive technical education that we have, and the fact that it will be the first US model in Asia. So the potential is really there. It's going to bring in a new dimension of education in Malaysia. So the potential is quite tremendous, and it will have a niche. We could have what we call early advantage, early start advantage, and attract enough interest into AWLU.
And what are some of the challenges you foresee?
Yeah, the first thing that when I go out a lot lately for donations and making briefings to boards and all that, they say, why do we don't need a women's university in Malaysia. If anything, we need a men's university, because we are having problem recruiting good male talents. And that is a challenge, trying to convince them why it has, to be a women's university. And this is really a model that we are adopting that have worked so well in the United States. The other challenge is, of course, the philanthropy part. Philanthropy in higher education is quite new in the region, and even in Malaysia. People are very willing to give money for orphanage, for the poor, for handicapped. But for education, the Chinese philanthropists would give for Chinese schools. That kind of situation. But to get them to save for tertiary education is quite challenging, because there is still a perception that this is a public good and must be done by the government. And Singapore doing it that way makes it a bit much more challenging for us in Malaysia, where private sector tertiary education is now a private sector enterprise. It's more the development aspect, but also I think it is starting a new thing in Malaysia where social entrepreneurs build a university. That is really something new. Most of the, you see, in Malaysia, unlike many countries, the private sector is very involved in starting universities. Starting universities is a business enterprise, and it has been proven to be profitable. And also a lot of successful corporations would like to have a university as a mark of their success and what they give back. It's never done by social entrepreneurs before, and to garner the interest of philanthropists to work with us and the state and the federal government. So that is an attractive venture, and I think partnerships of this nature, like with Smith College of the US, is the way to go for the future. Yeah. It is the way, from my understanding. Okay, I come from the traditional British style university in Malaysia, and then I did my master's at Vanderbilt in the United States. Those are still traditional type of universities, and I believe that the liberal arts, from my understanding of how, it is not that it is different from other universities in what it offers, but the way it does the teaching. The outcomes to the students are quite different from the outcomes of the university that I went to. Asian students don't ask questions, tend to be, very scared to be very forward and to be very open. But liberal arts create, or let them overcome all these fears. I met a Malaysian Smith College graduate, and I think her experience was very forceful on me. She was shy. She said she didn't know what she wanted to do. Her father sent her to UK for law. It didn't work out until she went to Smith College. She said Smith College really made her realize her potential. And the environment of being in a women's university was so different. And this was a girl who had gone to a few universities before. So, it was very convincing. And meeting with the group, Huning, Mona, Barbara, and, so many others, I could see the kind of potential that students from such a university will bring to the workplace. And being someone who has been interviewing umpteen people and not getting the product that you actually want for the job, I think liberal arts offer a much, much better, well-rounded person for the workforce. So I think it will work very well for the region. Okay, what is AWLU to me is really, it is a change, a different kind of university that will help transform the education field in Malaysia and the region.